I remember that morning like it happened yesterday. The fluorescent lights of the office seemed harsher than usual, every hum and buzz amplified in my ears. Diane, my auntie, was carrying a fresh cup of coffee, the steam curling like delicate smoke in the crisp air. One small misstep, her elbow grazed the cup, and the dark liquid leapt onto Mr. Reynolds' suit. The room froze for a heartbeat, and then it happened. Laughter. Sharp, cutting, merciless. It tore through the air, wrapping around Diane like chains. I saw her freeze, a deer caught in headlights, and then the crimson flush blossomed across her cheeks. Her hands trembled, tiny shivers as she tried to stammer an apology, her voice swallowed by the mocking echoes of colleagues. Claire, the office manager with that smug, infuriating grin, stepped forward. She didn't just clean the stain. She made a spectacle of it. Fingers pointed, whispered exaggerations floated through the room. Every movement she made was designed to humiliate. Every glance a public sentence. Diane's calm, always her armor, cracked. I could feel it, the weight of her shame pressing into the air. It was almost tangible, suffocating, thick enough to choke the conversation around her. Subtle glances flickered from the team, some pity, some judgment, some cruel amusement, but no one stepped in. In that moment, I felt a seed of something dark and resolute plant itself deep in me. Injustice, sharp and unrelenting, flared inside like wildfire. My mouth went dry, my hands clenched uselessly at my sides. I couldn't speak. I couldn't intervene. All I could do was watch her dignity crumble in slow, unbearable motion. Her eyes met mine for a split second, and I saw it. A silent apology, a plea for someone, anyone, to notice the injustice, to stand by her. The anger inside me bubbled, fierce and relentless, but Diane's restraint was almost mocking in its quiet strength. She refused to give them the satisfaction of seeing her break, and that made my own fury pulse hotter. By the end of the meeting, she forced a smile. Fragile, almost shattering. It was the kind of smile that tried to convince the world she was fine when every fiber of her being screamed otherwise. As we walked home, I noticed her shoulders slump, carrying the weight of invisible humiliation like armor that had been stripped away. The shadow of that morning clung to her, quiet but oppressive. And in that moment, a vow formed in my mind, silent and unwavering. No one, no smug manager, no mocking colleague, no careless hand, would ever belittle her again. Not while I could stop it. Not while Diane's quiet strength demanded justice. Diane was never the type to raise her voice. She never confronted, never argued, never made a scene. Pain, when it came, she folded neatly into herself, storing it where no one could see. But I had seen glimpses of the depths beneath that calm surface. Her childhood had been a crucible. A mother who criticized relentlessly, whose approval was never earned, only demanded. Every misstep, every perceived failure had been a blow, shaping her into someone cautious, measured, quietly strong. She had always been the caretaker, the invisible hand smoothing over everyone else's mistakes, sacrificing her comfort, her time, even her recognition. I remembered stories she told me about college projects, late nights spent correcting others' errors, rewriting reports, covering for colleagues who couldn't meet deadlines. Her dedication saved reputations, and yet no one ever noticed. Her first real job out of college had been cruelly emblematic. She had solved a major client crisis, a feat that could have earned her a promotion, yet the opportunity passed her by. The credit went elsewhere, leaving her accomplishments invisible to the world. And still, Diane endured. She worked late into the night, rewriting reports, quietly preventing disasters, her patience legendary, her name unmentioned. But patience came at a cost. She carried a secret fear, that asserting herself, showing strength would invite ridicule, conflict, or worse, humiliation. So she held back, masking her competence behind humility, letting the world assume what it wanted. Until the coffee incident. That day changed everything. The public humiliation she endured contrasted so sharply with the small victories she cherished. Quiet family dinners, shared laughter, moments where she allowed herself joy, that it made the injustice unbearable. I had never seen her restrained rage flicker so clearly, never felt the quiet storm beneath her composed exterior. She once confided in me about it. She didn't want tolerance. She wanted respect. Not empty words, not half-hearted acknowledgement. Real respect. That confession revealed her true power, not in aggression, but in the careful containment of her strength, waiting for the right moment. I remembered all the times she had quietly saved her colleagues' careers, correcting mistakes without fanfare, preventing disasters while the world stayed blissfully unaware. Those memories burned in my mind as I watched her endure humiliation. They were proof of the justice she deserved and the reckoning she could orchestrate. That history explained everything. The resilience I admired, the patience I envied, and now the careful, deliberate planning that I knew was stirring beneath her calm exterior. Diane was not broken. Diane was waiting. And when the moment came, she would unleash a force no one in that office could withstand. I began noticing the subtle ways the office turned against her. Misfiled documents that conveniently vanished, emails ignored without reason, whispered gossip curling through the cubicles like smoke. Each tiny act wasn't accidental. It was a deliberate test, a poke at her authority, a reminder that the humiliation of that morning still lingered. Claire's smirk had become permanent, etched onto her face like a mask of superiority. Every glance, every gesture carried the silent message, "You're beneath me." It was infuriating to watch, yet Diane never broke. Her composure remained flawless, but there was a new light in her eyes, a calculating glint, the faintest storm brewing behind her polite smiles. I watched her like a hawk, seeing her document each slight, each undermining act, as if she were weaving an invisible web. She stayed late into the night, quietly reconstructing errors that others had blamed on her, building a dossier of silent truths no one suspected existed. Every misstep, every tiny failure around her, she cataloged with surgical precision. The small accidents in the office began escalating. Critical projects faltered, deadlines were missed, yet Diane intercepted each crisis without fanfare. Colleagues grew frustrated, their confusion mounting. They had no idea how close they had come to disaster, or how Diane had quietly saved them. I noticed her laughter returning in fleeting, quiet moments. Subtle, knowing, almost private. It was a stark contrast to the tremor and humiliation from months before. Each laugh carried the weight of a plan unfolding, of control slipping silently from those who thought they dominated her. Interactions with Claire and the mocking team transformed into a chess match. Every word, every gesture, was a move. Her strategy was invisible but lethal. She tested limits, probed weaknesses, observed who would crumble under pressure, who could be manipulated, who would falter when the moment came. Office meetings became stages for her silent influence. She corrected missteps effortlessly, leaving no fingerprints, no clues that the balance of power was shifting. Yet everyone felt it. The tension, the subtle shift, the invisible hand guiding outcomes. Her calm authority began intimidating even the most arrogant colleagues. Seeds of doubt sprouted in minds that had previously mocked her. The smug confidence they carried wavered under the quiet weight of her competence. And I understood it then. Diane's revenge was not rash. It was meticulous, layered, inevitable. Every detail, every calculated move was leading to a moment of reckoning. The storm that had once been restrained beneath her polite smiles was now gathering, ready to unleash the justice that had been patiently plotted for months. The turning point arrived unexpectedly, carried on the crisp ring of Diane's phone. It was the company's CEO, unaware of the intricate web she had been weaving behind the scenes. As she answered, her voice was calm, measured, betraying nothing of the storm beneath. "I need to walk you through what's been happening," she began, steady, almost chilling. She outlined the scope of the errors she had silently corrected, each point precise, each intervention undeniable. The evidence she laid before him was meticulous, leaving no room for doubt, no possibility of dismissal. I watched as Claire's confident smirk faltered. Colleagues who had whispered and laughed behind her back now sat frozen, blindsided. The hierarchy they had assumed unshakable shifted in real time, a subtle quake that left them disoriented. Diane's voice remained unwavering as she explained the magnitude of disasters she had prevented. Every failed project, every near-missed deadline, every mismanaged task she had quietly salvaged, it all became clear in the CEO's eyes. Those who had humiliated her, were confronted with the undeniable proof of their own negligence. Their whispered jokes and mocking smiles had no defense against the evidence Diane presented. Shock, disbelief, and sudden respect rippled through the room, and I felt a thrill of vindication. The CEO's voice trembled slightly with gratitude. "Diane, I had no idea. This is incredible work. You've saved us from disaster multiple times." Recognition, long overdue, fell like a spotlight on her restrained brilliance. Her subtle smile betrayed satisfaction, quiet, almost imperceptible, but powerful. Months of humiliation reversed in seconds. I could see the shift in energy, the invisible crown settling onto her head. Rumors of Diane's capabilities spread like wildfire, reshaping office dynamics, alliances, and whispered conversations. Claire's arrogance faltered completely, replaced by a hesitant uncertainty she had never known before. Through it all, Diane's restraint never wavered. She allowed the tension to hang in the air, cinematic, deliberate, a quiet authority that none could challenge. That single phone call marked the emotional climax. The moment where subjugation transformed into authority, where humiliation gave way to undeniable power. Pride, relief, and awe surged through me. Justice, finally, was firmly in her hands. And I realized something crucial. Diane's revenge was not loud, it was surgical. It ensured the humiliation she endured would not be erased or ignored. It would be balanced, corrected, and remembered. The silent storm she had harbored for so long had arrived, and nothing would ever underestimate her again. The day of the client presentation arrived, and Diane approached it like a conductor ready to orchestrate a symphony of precision. Every detail had been planned, every potential pitfall anticipated. As she stepped into the conference room, the weight of previous humiliations seemed to hang in the air, but her composure was flawless. Claire fumbled immediately, her mismanagement and errors surfacing under Diane's subtle guidance. Every hesitation, every overlooked detail became visible, not through ridicule, but through Diane's calm, unyielding presence. I watched as she corrected issues live, her voice steady, her hands deliberate, commanding attention without raising them. The room fell silent, stunned by the quiet authority radiating from her. Colleagues who had once mocked her now stood exposed. Their failures were undeniable, glaring against the backdrop of Diane's competence. She ensured every major correction was visible to senior management, maximizing the impact of her actions without a trace of arrogance. When Diane requested formal recognition, it was measured undeniable. These corrections were crucial, she stated calmly, presenting irrefutable evidence. The CEO nodded, acknowledging her pivotal role, and Claire's desperate excuses fell flat, dismantled by Diane's meticulous documentation. Her emotional intensity radiated without aggression, a masterclass in controlled vengeance. Every movement, every word was precise, cinematic, designed to deliver justice while maintaining dignity. The office atmosphere shifted completely. Ridicule vanished, replaced by respect. Tension replaced by cautious awareness. Diane's victory was total, public, professional, emotionally satisfying. I could see the satisfaction flicker across her features, tempered with grace and dignity. She delivered subtle, cutting remarks during the presentation, each one highlighting the irony of the humiliations she had endured months earlier. Colleagues now approached her cautiously, aware of the quiet but formidable influence she wielded. She had transformed the humiliation into a spectacle of justice, strategic and cinematic, yet uncompromising in ethics. The revenge was complete, emotionally cathartic, and unassailable. Diane had turned months of quiet suffering into a demonstration of power and dignity, leaving no room for doubt. She was no longer the office victim. She was the unchallenged authority. In the weeks that followed, Diane's reputation soared. Her influence seeped into every corner of the office, subtle yet undeniable. Colleagues who had once whispered and sneered now approached her with cautious respect, seeking guidance, approval, even her quiet reassurance. Claire, once the embodiment of arrogance, was demoted. Her once commanding presence was replaced by hesitant compliance, her confidence shattered by the very woman she had mocked. The shift in dynamics was palpable. The office learned quickly the cost of underestimating patience, skill, and quiet strength. Diane herself flourished. I saw her laugh freely, unburdened by fear or humiliation. She maintained her humility, but carried an aura of quiet authority, a subtle yet constant reminder of her triumph. Every glance, every calm instruction reinforced the lesson she had delivered with such precision. I realized then that the emotional scars of humiliation had not weakened her. They had been transformed into power, into resilience that radiated silently yet forcefully. Her subtle mentorship reshaped office culture, guiding colleagues toward competence while cementing her influence. I felt a swell of relief and admiration. Justice had been served on multiple levels: public, professional, and personal. Diane's revenge was complete, balanced, and lasting. Her dignity, once eroded, was restored fully, and with it, a lesson that no one could ignore. Reflecting on the experience, I understood the strength in silent perseverance, in strategic planning, in emotional intelligence wielded with precision. My bond with Diane deepened, built on shared triumph and a reverence for her quiet, formidable power. Her story became a private legend in our circle, a tale of resilience, righteous retaliation, and the transformative power of subtle revenge. I understood finally that humiliation, when channeled wisely, could seed power. Diane had turned one small mistake, one moment of public shame, into an opportunity to correct far greater wrongs, and she had done it with grace, patience, and unshakable strength. Looking back, I can see how close Diane came to breaking under ridicule, how easily the weight of humiliation could have crushed her spirit. Yet she transformed that pain into strength, forging patience and strategy from the ashes of public mockery. She taught me that revenge isn't loud, isn't impulsive, it's deliberate, calculated, and quietly devastating. Every action she took, every subtle correction, every carefully timed intervention was a lesson in the power of restraint. Her story is more than revenge. It is a testament to patience, intelligence, and the reclamation of dignity without losing grace. The humiliation she endured didn't destroy her. It became the catalyst for monumental justice, a turning point from suffering to triumph. I share this not to glorify vengeance, but to honor resilience and strategy. For anyone watching, never underestimate the quiet ones. They often hold the greatest power, waiting patiently for the moment to reclaim what was wrongfully taken. Consider how small injustices can spark monumental change when met with calculated action. Diane's journey reminds us that respect is earned, and patience can become an instrument of justice more powerful than aggression or anger. If you've ever witnessed someone quietly outmaneuver their bullies, you know the impact is far greater than any loud confrontation. The strongest victories are often unseen at first, revealed only in their consequences. If this story resonated, subscribe for more deep dive cinematic revenge narratives. Share your thoughts. What would you have done if someone humiliated your loved one? Hit the like button if you believe in silent, strategic justice over impulsive retaliation. Thank you for listening. Diane's story is proof that sometimes the smallest mistake can ignite the biggest correction, and that patience, intelligence, and quiet strength can turn humiliation into a triumph no one can ignore.